What's going on, rock stars? Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Raw and Unscripted show with yours truly, Christopher Rausch, the place where I help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. And tonight we're going to have a very, very special conversation with you tonight. So we're going to be jumping into it really, really quick. But I encourage you tonight to pay full attention and potentially take notes of what it is that you can take from this conversation, because this is about life. This is going to be a deep conversation about what it is that we can do to kind of let go of the things that don't really serve us and to get back in touch and connected with our true selves and be able to live that authentic life and be able to have those experiences in your life where you can sit there and you could cherish those moments and not be so caught up in the fear and the worry and the strife of what else is going on in the world, and be able to be really connected to your family and to what's most important to you, so that you at the end of the day can leave a legacy that you're proud of and you could be really connected with your friends. I've been doing some research recently on what it takes to have a really fulfilled life, and one of the most important aspects of a fulfilled life is not what you buy or how you're recognized in front of the public eye or anything else like that. It's about your relationships. And tonight I have the blessing of having two amazing friends and brothers with me tonight to have this conversation, talking about life, talking about what's most important. One of them has written many, many books, but one of the books he's written is called The Sixth Sense, The Powers of the Sixth Sense. His name's Jock Brocas. You can look him up at jockbrocas.com. My other friend, Mr. Walt McKinley, has written a book called Monsters in My House. It's an autobiographical memoir about the situations that he endured as a kid and as a young adult that helped him become the man he is today. I am honored to have these guys in my life. I speak to them frequently and we talk about life. We talk about these deep subjects. They help me shift my perspective about things that are going on. We help each other see the different aspects of life, and for us to be better men, to be better humans, to be connected more internally with our soul and our legacy, and less concerned again with the materialistic, egotistical aspects of the world that so oftentimes we get caught up in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s. We are a little bit older, and we just encourage you tonight to suspend belief about what you think is important in your life and take heed in what it is we're going to be talking about tonight, because it's going to be some deep conversation about life and about legacy and about loss. So we encourage you guys to do that. So please help me in welcoming Mr. Walt McKinley and Mr. Jock Brocas to the conversation, to the Raw Unscripted show. What's up, gentlemen? Good to see you both.
Yeah.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Good. You have been a busy man, Mr. Jock Brocas. People who have been watching and listening to the show know I've spoken about you recently and all the work you've been doing with the hurricane relief efforts and sleeping bag efforts and everything like that. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. My first question to you guys tonight, and this is maybe I want to go 30,000 foot view and then kind of drill down a little bit. But what do each of you think at your point in your life? What is the meaning of life? So oftentimes we hear that question asked, like, what's the meaning of life? And, everybody gives their esoteric answer about this and that. I'm curious to see where each of you are at in your lives. What do you think? Because Walt and I have had some deep conversations about corporate careers and all that different stuff and finding out what's more important. And obviously, Jock, you've gone through some stuff. What do you guys think about that? What is the meaning of life at this point in your journey? Either one can go first.
Go ahead, brother. Jump in there.
I'll let you go, Walt, because I probably have a bit to say.
All right. Yeah, I think, the meaning of life ebbs and flows as you get older. That wisdom that's only gained through experience and going through different life's journey. I think about when I was younger, it was, money and status and growing my career and being a great dad and being a great husband. But there was a lot of things that were driven by ego, having some level of fame, feeling like I wanted to change the whole world. And while those things are important, I think sometimes we get so caught up in chasing those goals that we actually don't prioritize the things that end up mattering the most in our life. And I got to tell you guys, like recently, my mother-in-law, she almost passed, and she's got some liver failure, and that's not going to get better. And she went into a coma for 4 days, and we thought she was done. And the priest came in and read last rites, and it's a really humbling experience, and it will change you more than even my breakdown in corporate America changed me 3.5 years ago. Because as we sat around her bed, once we were in the hospital, then we sent her home on hospice, sat around the bed, nobody cared about a thing that was bought. Nobody cared about a car. Nobody cared about a house. Nobody cared about money. You know what it was? The people she loved the most in this world were 4 kids, her husband, her grandkids, and me. around her, just loving on her and telling the stories about things that she did and things that made us laugh. And, they're calling her the miracle lady because she came out of this coma and she's still alive now. And we're blessed that we're going to get at least this one more Christmas with her. But I got to tell you guys, like when you go through things like that,
Mm-hmm.
really see somebody coming potentially to the end of their life, you get a bigger picture on like what's actually important, because all these things that we prioritize and all these things that we put first before our relationships, before our health, before those people that when it's our last day are going to be sitting around us, we put everything else first in front of them most of the time for the sake of legacy, for the sake of like building this thing and leaving it to them. But ultimately, the one thing you can never buy is more time. When God says your time's up, your time is up. And so for me, the meaning of life now is really like maintaining priority over those relationships that matter the most to me, being truly present as my daughters finish college and finish high school this year, and really focusing on building quality relationships, not quantity relationships. So for me, that's really where my priorities are at right now. And frankly, I'm sure they'll stay at for the rest of my life.
I have one follow-up question before we go to you, Jock. When you think about that journey, talking about your breakdown in corporate America, talk to us about that identity shift, because so oftentimes we're sold on who we think we're supposed to be based on what everybody else wants us to be, right? The top regret of the dying is the fact that they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live rather than live the life they wanted to live. What was that shift for you? What advice would you have for somebody who is going through that process right now, that metamorphosis, if you will? We think about the caterpillar becoming the butterfly and that struggle, and we want to help that butterfly become that butterfly, but they need to have that internal struggle for themselves. Walk us through that identity change, being able to release what you thought was important to realize what is now important.
Yeah, I'd say, again, wisdom through experience. So when I had my breakdown, I mean, I was working myself to the bone, trying to be a great dad, trying to be a great husband, giving everything half of my attention or less and giving myself zero, which is what caused the breakdown, right? No self-care, no self-love, like just pouring into everything but myself. And not doing it very well, even though I was giving it 100% of what I had in the moment. And, I was making more money than I ever had. Money that, like, when I was going through my childhood and everything that I've been through, that I had big goals for, but I had hit all those goals. And I hit all those goals, and I was still thinking, yeah, but when I get that next promoted 14 and 5 years in corporate, I'm just killing it. People are like, dude, I've been in this game 20 years. You just got in 3 years ago and you already passed me. Like, what are you in such a hurry for? But it was always like the next thing, and never like being present and just being happy where I was at. What I've had to learn is a different sense of gratitude. So I think like gratitude for the journey is really big. And people talk about that a lot, but I think it's almost like flippantly, like you need to have gratitude. No, I mean deep, genuine gratitude for where you're at. Genuine gratitude for the breakdown, because without that, I wouldn't be here doing this right now. I wouldn't have wrote my book, which has helped a ton of people. I wouldn't have done the speaking engagements. I wouldn't have done anything that I've done without that breakdown. The difference now is like learning how to be patient and present, because I'm not a very patient person. And because I'm not patient, I can tend to not be as present as I should be in the moment. So it is truly like reprogramming yourself and being okay slowing down and not having to attack everything with like supreme urgency, which is like what I would normally do. Everything goal-oriented and execution, which served me really well in my career, but it doesn't serve me really well in other parts of my life. So learning how to be present, learning how to be patient, and then being okay, allowing yourself the space to really learn how to be that way and be different compared to what you've done for me for the previous 25 years before that.
That's such a great answer. And I love that, because that's the same thing that I essentially went through when I left corporate America, was that identity shift. It was like, okay, I'm no longer that person. I'm no longer needed in that respect. What am I now? Who am I now? How do I get my validation? How do I get my approval? And ultimately, I think the conversation tonight is going to be about the fact that we have to get that validation, that approval through ourselves. And like you said so eloquently, the fact of the relationships that we have. And so oftentimes we give ourselves to, I did a speech on this one time about the fact that we give the best customer service to everybody at work and to our customers. And then what do? We come home and we dump on our family. We spend 2 hours telling them how shitty our day was, and we don't give the best to our family, who's going to be there wiping our ass when we can't, do it for ourselves. And I think that is so massively important that when we're able to surrender, I think the big word for me in that situation was surrender. And I always thought surrender was weak, right? You never surrender. You stand tall, you go through it, you're unstoppable, right? And you went through a mental breakdown. I went through my adrenals crashing twice because I just kept going. Okay, I got this. I'm going to show everybody this is how it is to be unstoppable and everything else. But at the detriment of my own mental health, my own physical health, that I got to a point where I woke up one day and I felt like I got pushed off a 22-story building. And I went to the doctor. I said, how do we fix this? She goes, you need to rest. And I'm like, what the fuck? Kitty, give me a pill. Give me a pill. I got to keep going. And that was the start of me sitting there saying, okay, I have to take that self-care and I have to stop worrying so much about how I'm proving to others, which is, I want to get into this in a little bit, the subset of our childhood, right? We want to prove to our parents. We want to prove to our brothers and sisters. We want to prove to our friends our worth. And I think that's an important delineation. So thank you for sharing that. Mr. Jock, I know you always have a lot of beautiful things to say. Same question for you, the meaning of life, given the experiences you've been through. Was it Hurricane Helene? Was that the one?
Yeah.
I always
I've been through Hurricane
names.
Helene. I took time out of all my work and what I was doing to go and serve wherever I could to help and to, gain information, spread and get right intelligence, basically, because so much that was out there in the social media was wrong. I've hugged people that have lost loved ones. People have had just devastating loss. Now, I've had devastating loss all my life. I mean, you guys know this may be emotional for me tonight because only a few hours ago this morning I lost another person in my life, and it hits me. It hits me hard. My mother-in-law is gone that I was really close to and I adored. And I suppose what I've learned about the meaning of life is the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with a higher power, God, Jesus, whatever, divine, whatever you say. And as you guys are speaking, the relationship you have with others is most important. The right relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. You've got to have the right relationships because we fall into too many of the wrong relationships. And in the times where I've been in the disaster zones, not one person bothered about who the hell they were freaking voting for. Not one person bothered about their divisions. I saw people that came together in community. I spoke to people that watched their loved ones disappear. And in the same token, I met a guy, Kessler, who him and his fiancée lost everything as their house blew away. And all that was left was his banjo.
Oh, wow. That's
And
a country music song.
He turned up to the forward operating base and played his banjo. I took photographs of that guy playing his banjo. The material world doesn't matter. What matters is the relationships that you have.
Mm-hmm.
We're always chasing freaking rainbows. No matter what rainbow you chase, it never exists. It doesn't there. It's an illusion. You can't get to it because it's only there as a perception.
It's never enough, like Walt said. It's never enough.
It's never enough. And we're forced into chasing these things because of other people's expectations and perceptions. When you've truly faced loss in all aspects of your life, whether it be loved ones, whether it be jobs, material belongings, identity, anything, it brings you down, if you like, to being raw and unscripted. Because at the end of the day, all you have is those memories and those relationships. And that's something that you need to protect. The relationship with yourself comes number one. Because if you don't have the relationship with yourself, you don't have a relationship with a higher power. Your relationship with a higher power comes secondary because you are part of that higher power. But you won't recognize it unless you have a relationship with yourself. And in the third instance, the relationship you have with people, those loved ones in your life. And recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that every day that you open your eyes, you get to live a miracle that God has given you. 24 hours. How you live that miracle is down to you. And how you squander that miracle is also down to you. Your life can be gone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you guys think like time's so fleeting, and you don't realize it when you're in your 20s and 30s. You feel like you got all the time in the world, man. And then, then you realize, then you start losing people close to you. Maybe you see people younger than you, and you realize just how, or your kids are growing, and you realize just how fleeting time is. And we continue, Chris, you talk about this a lot, like tolerating things, and you tolerate people in your life that like they just take all your energy. You tolerate people in your life that have something negative to say, or you tolerate, and I see it a lot in the motivational speaking industry. You tolerate having people around you that they just lack integrity.
Yeah,
but I gotta tell you, like I've taken more people off of my social media because I don't care about the fame. I don't care about the numbers. It's not an ego game for me. At one point, like there was a little piece of me that wanted that too. But I wasn't willing to sacrifice my integrity. And I think when you realize, Jock, to your point, like all of that stuff means nothing. It literally means nothing. It's the relationships, it's the time, it's creating the experiences and really living your life and not waiting for tomorrow to do it, because it's not promised for any of us, that you really start to live you live the most awake version of yourself in that moment, the most genuine version of yourself in the moment, because the worries you have about what other people think start to melt away, and you just start to live life on your terms and love the people around you in the way that they deserve to be loved.
It's true. It's true. I think about.
I think you've got to think about this, guys, as well. You've got to be able to discern moments and recognize moments. Because if you can't recognize moments in others and even in yourself, you're not going to be able to appreciate that and have gratitude for that. And a case in point, when I was up in the mountains and I met a mother and a daughter, the daughter had just, I literally emptied my wallet out when it was just her birthday 2 days just before the hurricane hit. And then it was her birthday and she lost her job because it was just crazy. But it had, and I'll share some pictures that Chris can share with you. And he said that the mudslide came through, destroyed their house, everything. They had nothing. They were living in a tent. And I took because, you know, I'm a photographer. I do photojournalism as well. And I took a shot of them. And there's a moment in time where the daughter and the mother catch each other's eyes, they catch each other's gaze, and then everything that they lost just disappeared because there was the connection. And the problem is that so many of us are so disconnected. And if you can't recognize moments in life and moments in others, you're never going to appreciate or have gratitude for what you have. What you have is you, what you have is your relationships. And stop chasing these rainbows, because there's so many beautiful moments that are available to us. But the problem is that we become disconnected from ourselves, and we get disconnected because of expectations and others and what's put upon us. So
right. Okay. So I have a question for you guys. So based on the fact that what we're saying is that we've experienced personal tragedy, we've experienced, loss in order for us to have these perspectives. Do you believe that the people listening and watching this have to go through that personal tragedy and that experience as well to gain that enlightenment? Is that part of the journey that we need to go through and experience that loss to find that gratitude for the simple things? Or is that something that we can gain? And if we can gain it without that experience, how do we do that?
Well, here's the thing. We look at suffering as something that is bad, and I did for many years. Oftentimes, suffering can be the greatest gateway to spiritual awakening, to recognizing one's inner potential. Suffering is never always a bad thing. It depends on how you become aware of it and how you awaken to its power and how you can utilize it. That's why we have something called post-traumatic growth. Is even through trauma, we can grow and we can come out of it in the other end better than what we were. Here's the thing, Chris. None of us in this earth will get away from no suffering. At some point, we will all suffer, right? Whether it's something devastating through loss, like I lost my mother-in-law this morning. That's devastating. I've had 4 losses within few months in this last few months. But whether it's something like that, whether it's losing a job, whether it's losing a relationship, whether it's losing a friend connection who moves away, or even losing your material belongings. We will all go through some kind of loss in life. No one escapes it. It is a part of the journey. How you embrace that, how you integrate that is more important than ever. If you can discern and become aware of the power of going through that gauntlet, going through that suffering, and recognizing that grief, any type of trauma, any type of suffering can make you the person that you are, because you can learn from it. You can spiritually. Case in point, my brother Walt. I mean, goodness, read his book. There's a man who's a testament to the suffering that he had and came through the end and went through that trauma and came out better in the end. We will all suffer. How you become aware of it, how you embrace it, and how you grow from it, that's the gift that God has given you to choose.
Like I told you, Jock, I was texting with a friend of mine who I've known now for, I don't know, 15 years, and he's going through a tough time. He's going through a divorce and a whole bunch of stuff and might get evicted. And I said, just remember that. And I hate to say this because I think it sounds cliche almost to a point, but I sit there and I choose to believe this every single day of my life, that everything that's happened in my life and everything that's happening in my life is preparing me for what's next. And that we graduate, if you will, to those next experiences because we're ready to handle those challenges, because it's going to give us that perspective to be able to be the people that we are today having this conversation. And I think that, like you said, that post-traumatic growth is about a perspective that we get to see ourselves not as a victim, which I think is going back to what, we were talking about, like Walt, you said, being present and patient, and Jock, you said relationship to self. I think that all ties together, is having that perspective of this journey, finding strength and finding opportunity in those experiences for us to stop and shift that perspective to find that opportunity for us to be different individuals and not hang on to that and go, oh, well, poor me.
Here's the thing. Monsters in My House would not exist hadn't Walt gone through that. My books wouldn't exist hadn't I gone through stuff. Your story that's coming out, Christopher, would not exist through what we learn through our suffering, through our pain. Something beautiful can come out of it. There's a saying that in darkness is always a blessing. And there's one thing I always say, and I teach, is that light will always transmute the darkness, but darkness can never transmute the light. There's always a light there, and there's always a way. There's always a way through the trauma that makes us who we are. Viktor Frankl, for instance. All right, let's talk about him.
I got that book right behind me.
There's an example right there. We would not be who we are hadn't we experienced that trauma. Our stories wouldn't be helping shape others hadn't we experienced it. So even though we suffer, it's perhaps the greatest gift that we've been given.
So what do you think holds us back most when you think about that connection to self and being present? What is it that's holding us back most? If you had to delineate that down, is it our excuses? Is it our story? What is it that's holding us? Is it fear? Fear what? What do you guys think it is that holds us back most? And how can we get back to that connected self? Because we're born connected and spiritually aligned, but then the experiences that shape us in those first couple of years of our life tend to skew our perspective and our attitudes and our feelings and our actions about those things. What do you guys think about that? Because I'm thinking about the person listening to this going, okay, well, I'm going through something, but I'm choosing to run away from it. I'm going to my short-term gratifications. I'm ignoring it. How do we get those people back to have that conversation with themselves to kind of, like you said, Walt, talk about those tolerations and be able to remove some of that stuff to get that clarity where right now they're getting clouded by the gratifications that they're seeking?
Yeah, I think first, like, we live in this victim society. Right now, it's like celebrated and it's applauded. Put a big V on your chest for victim. Let me tell you how I'm more of a victim than you. And then what we do is we get in these echo chambers. So I'll give you an example. So, people were on Twitter, and then Elon Musk bought it. Now it's X. And now the former owner of Twitter's doing Blue Sky. So what you're probably going to have is a conservative only thing on X and a liberal only thing on Blue Sky, right? Or you've got, even my kids say it. oh man, like people will be like, oh, I'm feeling very anxious about something. It's like, oh man, you have anxiety. I have depression too. Oh, you have anxiety and depression. Oh, I also have an eating disorder. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Oh, let me just tell you how much
One-upmanship. Yeah.
there's
Yep.
no like mental fortitude anymore. And because we're lacking that, we're seeing depression and anxiety levels and all these other things be at the highest levels that they've ever been. And social media feeds hugely into that. Feeds huge because people gravitate towards like what their identity identifies with, right? Like whether it's politics or whether it's like race stuff or religion stuff or whatever it is, people will stay in that echo chamber because it validates how they feel. So they're never challenged to think differently. And I got to tell you, like, when I realized the struggle wasn't necessarily to make me stronger, it did make me stronger. It did make me more resilient. When I realized like my childhood struggle, my breakdown that I had, all of these things, these challenges that I've had in my life, when I realized like they were actually there to help me become who I was meant to be, not to make me, not to make me more resilient. That's a byproduct. I feel like, I find my spirituality through God. So like for me, I think God gives you tests that he knows that you can handle, even if I don't feel like it in the moment, because it's to help you become who you're meant to be. And I think that when I realized that, and that perspective change on the experiences that I had in my lifetime, I came out of that season of my life, which was a dark period of my very early 20s, like super strong and empathetic. And like, I communicate well. Even, my wife's like, for a man, like you talk a lot and you communicate well. And like it, and I was like, but that's because of the experiences that I had when I was shut down as a kid and I couldn't speak, or I was hit for speaking, or whatever it was. So I think when we get out of this victim mindset, bro, like, and we get back to applauding resilience and saying like, hey, yeah, it's okay not to be okay. Like that's fine. What's not okay is staying in that spot. What's not okay is continuing to wallow year after year after year about the things that happen to you in life because you can't see that maybe they happen for you. So back to your question you just asked before this, you asked, what could we tell people, and do they need to live the experience? I think we can tell people this all day. Most people, I don't know anybody that hasn't been through some hardship in life, right? You ain't 20, 30, 40, 50 years old and you haven't experienced hardship in your life. Right. What attitude have you taken towards a hardship? Are you allowing it to create who you're meant to become? Or are you letting it be your anchor that keeps you in the perspective of drowning? So you've got the experience. You need to change the lens and the perspective that you look at the experience and realize that it's meant to make you who you were meant to be. It's meant to make you maximize your capability and your capacity in life. And all of our stories are meant for somebody to hear. You don't have to write a book. Like, Jock, you wrote a book, I wrote a book, Christopher, like your book's getting close, super close to being done. I'm so excited about that. You don't have to write a book and be grandiose. It could be one person. Somebody doesn't need our 3 stories. They need somebody's story in the chat, right? They need somebody's story who's going to listen to this on replay. There's one person whose life you're going to change because you learn to embrace your story and realize who you're meant to become from it. And they need to hear that from you. That's how we really make change.
I think there's someone that you're saying there that kind of we can encapsulate this in one word, and that's meaning. If you can find meaning in your trauma, then that is going to serve others. That's going to be the seed that you sow in other people's hearts. The problem is that people are always searching for meaning and they don't know what it is. How can they have meaning? How can they find meaning in grief? How can they find meaning in the loss they have? How can they find meaning in the trauma? Well, what happens is they become, as you said, they become the victim, and meaning becomes so elusive. And yet meaning is the catalyst to them healing through the trauma.
What am I making this mean about me?
You've got to find meaning to heal through that trauma. Because if you don't, that is when you become the victim and you play the victim, and then you end up with mental disorders, psychosis, and various other things, and
addictions,
post-traumatic stress, and various other elements. If you find meaning from the trauma, not only will you be going through that catalyst into change and into transformation, but that meaning will serve others and will spark meaning in them.
Well, it's either going to be your fuel or it's going to be your anchor. Choose. Like, just choose. And if you feel like it's your anchor, you can change that at any point in time. Now, you got to choose your heart in the short term, working through those traumas and the grief or guilt or whatever it is that's holding you back and it's making you feel like you're drowning. Like, working through those can be difficult. It's worth it because you're going to feel empowered on the other side of that. I can say that because I've done the work myself.
Right.
But it's like when you stop to your this way, I love the no excuses stuff, Chris, because I mean, I feel like it is. It's just an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to do it because it seems so hard. But you know what's hard? Living your life feeling like you're drowning and living your life with all this emotion in here that doesn't do any good for you. You know what's amazing? Mm-hmm. Do the hard work up front, and then you live the rest of your life, however much time you got. Whether it's, 7 months, 7 years, or 77 more years, you deserve to be happy. Why not live it happy by doing the work that can get you there? Start finding the fuel instead of stop letting you stop mentally using it as an anchor. Man, I'm telling you, like, stuff gets me fired up.
Yeah, we talk about the hero's journey. Like, when people ask me, like, Chris, do you think that, like, one of the questions I get asked when I'm on podcasts is like, what's the reason why you're still here? And I'm like, because I literally gave myself no excuses and I never stopped. I never gave up. I always tried to figure it out. But one of the key factors in what we're talking about tonight, and Walt, you kind of touched on it with the social media groups, we're finding commonality in the pain or commonality in the anger. We had talked about that before privately. And I know for me that things really started to shift when I started taking a look at the people that I was hanging around. Like that group thing. Oh, I'm hanging around all the victims. I'm hanging around all the partiers. I'm hanging around all the bullshitters. Okay, once I started hanging around people who were brighter and smarter than me, who were pushing me, hey, Chris, have you thought about going back and getting your GED? Hey, Chris, have you thought about going to college? No, fuck, what are you, crazy? But because that person saw something in me and because I saw what they were achieving in their life, I decided, okay, what do I need to do? What's that next step? And to your point, when people sit there and say, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. Yeah, but on the other side, it's going to be worth it. And you're going to have that sense of pride. I mean, I look back on my life and I think about, and I know you guys all feel the same way. I look back on a sense of pride, like, oh, I don't want to go back and repeat any of that shit, but it helped me become the man I am today because I chose to see those experiences and I see that hero's journey. If you guys listening and watching, if you ever never seen the Joseph Campbell story, The Hero's Journey, it's on YouTube. It's like an hour and 23 minutes. It's a phenomenal representation of life. And that on the other side of those things, those challenges is the opportunity for us to have that clarity and gain that different perspective and be able to shed some of those excuses that we've hung on to and that pain and that anger and that animosity. We realize that everything, like you said, is happening for us. And that we get this beautiful experience to realize in our life that when we go through those things, we grow through them. And I think that, for people listening and watching, take a look at the people you're surrounding yourself with and find those people that are doing the things that you want to do and get those people into your life and stop with the excuses. And I think about the journey of what we've all been through. What is the part of empathy and forgiveness in the role of healing that connection with self? Because so many times people are mad and they're angry with themselves and they're not connected to themselves because of something they've done or something they're doing. How do we get people to have that sense of forgiveness and that empathy for themselves to reconnect with their true, authentic nature?
Go ahead, Jock.
Who's going to go on this one? Yeah,
we all got something to say about this one. Go ahead.
I'll have a lot to say about it. You go, Walt, and then I'll go. I think about it differently, but you go for it.
When I realized forgiveness, like real forgiveness, the anger and the pain that I was hanging on to, when I realized that forgiveness was always for me, whether I needed to forgive myself, especially when my wife and I went through some struggles in our marriage, or whether I needed to forgive my abusers, or whatever it was. When I realized that was truly the key to like making me happy and not harboring this resentment and this anger and this guilt and this shame and all these other things that we do to ourselves. When I realized that truly was the key, it changed so much for me. And then it was like,
give us an example of what you had to do in that situation so that people could kind of tie that in.
Yeah. So I'll give you a relatively quick example. So, part of my childhood story, I was locked in basements as a kid and beat by my stepfather. And I hadn't seen him I was 19 years old. I hadn't seen him since I was like 10. And he was talking to my little sister. I went to visit my mom for the first time in 10 years. I hadn't seen her. She had been all over the map and all over the place. I had brought Stephanie back. She was there, my wife of 25 years now, but we were dating and getting real serious. First time home to meet the family. My two sisters were there. When my sister's talking kind of by the carport to some man, well, I hadn't seen my mom in so long. I thought maybe it was her boyfriend. And my sister's talking to my younger sister, talking to him. It's her dad. It's my old stepfather. And oh my God, you want to talk about a rage, because there was zero forgiveness in my heart. There was only that I wanted to cause him. And I was 19 and full of testosterone and all that. Right. So, and I'll never forget, it was like, I grabbed a glass of water from the sink and I turned around and I went to walk back in the living room and I was like, hey, what's up, dude? And he was like, hey, Walt. And it just hit me in the moment. And I mean, you want to talk about being flush, veins popping out of my head, like white and red, probably as adrenaline ran through my body. And I walk in the living room and I was like, if you don't make him leave, I'm going to go get a knife and stab him to death. That's what I told my mother. And she looks at my sister, Faith, my older sister, and Faith was like, well, you better get him out of here. Well, don't play that. And Stephanie's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, that's Bruce. And she had only known part of my story at that point.
Oh, okay.
She was like, well, come here. It's okay. And my mom ran back there and made him leave. So I saw him again 10 years, 12 years later-ish, right? Somewhere in there, when my younger sister got married. And I knew he was going to be there. So I was kind of prepared. And I knew I was still harboring a little resentment and anger there. I could feel it as I got closer to her wedding. And I just realized, like, it's her wedding. It's her day. I'm not going to spoil it. Like, I'm married with kids. He don't even know if I'm mad or not anymore. Does he even really care? Me being angry still and me not forgiving and me hanging on to that didn't mean it was okay what he did, but me not forgiving so I could just let it go.
You're only hurting yourself.
Like being a better dad and a better husband and making sure I didn't carry on the generational trauma, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw him at the wedding and, I went up, I shook his hand, I told him congratulations, and that was it. And I went and I danced with my wife and I danced with my mom and I danced with my two daughters. And, they're much younger at the time. I danced with them and I just had a freaking blast. But if I would have not been able to kind of really let that go, and that's what forgiveness is. It's a letting go. Mm-hmm. If I wouldn't have been able to do that, there's
letting go of what? Wait. I want to stop you right there. Well, letting go of what? Because I think we can go a little bit deeper on that real quick. Letting go of what? The expectation for an apology. Letting go of what? What are we letting go of?
Letting go of the reality that I can't change what happened, but I can change how I deal with it at this point moving forward in the future. Letting go of the fact that, like, no matter what he ever said to me, it wasn't going to be enough. Mm-hmm. Letting go of the fact that he shouldn't have did that to me. Nothing I could do could change. I could change the present and I can change the future. And that was it. And when I realized that, and I realized, like, I'm never going to have a relationship with this man, but me harboring this resentment, this anger is only holding me back from being who I can really be. And and it might not be affecting my family directly, like on a day-to-day basis, but I'm sure there was some indirect things on how I fathered or how I, not always good, or how I was as a husband or whatever. I think there was a lot of good and empathy that came from my experiences, but I think also, like, there was definitely some undertone of trauma still there, and that anger will come out on those people that you love the most. That's why they say hurt people hurt others.
Mm-hmm. It's like drinking the poison and expecting somebody else to die. That's such an important note. And I'm going to jump in that before I let you go, Jock, because the thing that helped me out the most, and we've talked about this privately, guys, for me in writing my memoir and thinking about the frustration and the anger and the resentment and how it should have been and how it could have been, and realizing that moment where I went, wow, if I would have gone through the experiences my mother went through, being born in 1942, to parents that were in their early 20s, back in the day when there were, the recession and all the different economic times and political times, and, women weren't allowed to do this, all those different things and all those experiences she had, might I have turned out like her? And that was the thing that allowed me to find that empathy and forgiveness, and to really see her as that 4-year-old girl that she kept saying she was, that I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mom? You're 40 something years old. She was, I'm a 4-year-old little girl. And I'm like, why does she keep saying 4? I'm like, oh, that's when her parents divorced. And then she had to go live with her psychotic mother, who was literally had six different, I can count, 6 different psychiatric disorders. I have them written down. My mom made me write them down one time. She goes, if you ever have any problems, this is what runs in our family. And I'm like, that's bullshit. But I was able to let go of the expectation that I wanted her to be Mrs. Brady. I wanted her to be Mrs. Cunningham. That she did with what she could, with what she had. And as a result of me shifting that perspective as a kid and being that unstoppable person, I became the man I am today. So I think that's important for people to be able to find that sense of perspective shift and not having that expectation that person should have been something.
Let me add one thing before Jock, you jump in.
Sure.
The last thing I'll say to this point is like, when I realized hurt people. Again, it doesn't excuse it away. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't mean like, hey, that's okay. You beat me and locked me in closets, like in basements. It's okay that you did that. It doesn't make any of that the reality. Even when my father apologized to me, it didn't necessarily help because I had forgiven him already. And it was hollow to me. But when I realized every one of my abusers were abused themselves.
Yeah.
Hurt people hurt other people because they didn't have the courage to do the healing and do the hard work that I was willing to do so that I can be better on the other side of that. That's why we say choose your heart.
Right.
When I realized that, I think it made it a little bit easier for me to let some of that go and really forgive, like fully, truly forgive versus like, yeah, I forgive most of it, but not all of it. And I'm still
I'm gonna hang on to this little piece because it serves me.
Let all that go. I think that really helped me, like hurt people, hurt other people. And because they were abused, I think I had a little empathy for that kid that was still hurting inside of them, that they just never understood or had the courage or took the opportunity to try to heal.
Prophecy, Jock.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's the reality is in that compassion that you find. The compassion is where you find the power to let go. And I'd rather use the term letting go because as you know, guys, I think about forgiveness as something different, and it might freak some people out, but forgiveness to me is an illusion. It's a total illusion. And if you'll indulge me, I'll explain why.
Of course.
Because when we think about forgiveness, we think about something that we have to do. We think about something that we are able to control, that we have to forgive someone, or we're seeking for forgiveness. And the reality is that you don't have to forgive yourself, and you don't have to forgive anyone else, and they don't have to forgive you. Because literally the power of forgiveness lies in your divine authority. The power in your forgiveness lies in you, your divinity. And in the way I like to think about it, letting go is probably a better analogy to actually give and to look at, because forgiveness to me is a divine power that gives you that ability to let go. And what causes us the suffering is the judgment. And what we have to let go of is the judgment. Because when we're hurt, or hurt people, or we're hurt, or we feel that we need to forgive something, or we feel that we need to forgive ourselves, or we're seeking forgiveness from someone, they don't have to. And it doesn't matter. What causes you your pain is the judgment that you feel and what's happened to you. Whatever you've gone through is how you judge that causes your inner turmoil and your inner suffering. And the power that you have inside of you is to let go of the judgment. When you let go of the judgment, the illusion drops away.
Can you give an example of the judgment?
You get the level of surrender and freedom. Huh?
Give us an example of the judgment. I think that, because you're talking, we understand spiritual divinity, and we're getting more on grasp of that. But I'm thinking about the person that's listening to this going, huh? What does that mean? Like, give us an example of being able to let go of the judgment versus how that differs from forgiveness.
If someone has done something bad to you, let's say, for instance, someone has hurt you in a relationship, the way that you judge it is what's causing you the suffering. They hurt me, and in that they did this to me, and this is about me, and because they did this to me, the inner inside of you, you're judging that. There's a judgment made in that. There's a judgment call, and that judgment, because you're judging that they hurt you, they don't know that they've hurt you, or they may have done, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Because if you didn't have the judgment of it, you wouldn't bother. You wouldn't feel it. You wouldn't be feeling the emotion. The fact that you in your mind you're connecting to the fact that this person done something to me to cause me pain and upset. It's that judgment of what you're seeing or what you're feeling or how that expression is coming to you. You judge it, it causes you suffering. If you can just link into that judgment and let go of that surrender, as you said, you surrender that judgment, you let go. That's where the power is. Surrender, letting go. Because there's no need to forgive. It's an illusion. Let go.
Is
and
that judging right or wrong? Is
judgment.
that what you're saying?
Huh?
Judging right or wrong? Because I'm thinking of like a judging, we're judging what's right or what's wrong.
There's different levels of judgment. We judge something right or wrong as a power of discernment, but we're talking about judgment of the self. We're judging ourselves or we're judging something that may be wrong that's hurt us. When we know that it's caused us suffering, that's when we have to let that go. Because if we don't let that go, it continues to cause suffering. If we cannot let go of the judgment, we will continually suffer. If I've done something to someone, if I've done something to Walt and it's hurt me inside, and I judge myself for doing that, I need to let go of that to give me the freedom and the expanse to make it right. The reason it's an illusion is because we put an expectation on that word, forgiveness, creates so much perceptions and illusions and expectations inside of us, where the better communion is letting go, the better power is surrender. And it's every time you feel bad about something that's happened to you, it's the way you judge it. I can judge the distance of something. It's 30 feet to something. That's a different type of judgment. We're talking about not a material judgment, but more of a spiritual internal judgment, right? That's the difference.
Entitlement is
when
what
you
you're talking
discern
about,
the
right?
difference, that's where it comes, because you live in the realm of judgment, which causes your suffering, and that will always exist unless you can let go.
That sense of entitlement, right? That's what I wrote down. The sense of entitlement, sense of entitlement. They owe me. I think that I need that. So as long as I carry this, I have that victim badge, is what we were saying before. And so I think what you're saying is spot on, is being able to sit there and, okay, can I surrender that? Can I let that go and put that piece of me back together? That I don't need to go. I don't need to go validate that pain.
They don't owe you. That's the thing. If you say they owe you, it's because you've judged that they owe you. And then that judgment of you saying they owe me, you're judging that. It's internally that causes you discourse and turmoil. They may owe you something, but that's not. You've got to let that go to a higher power. Karma's always going to play its game. It's always going to play out in the theater, whatever way that it happens. You can't escape it. At the end of the day, it's your judgment of the situation. They owe me. They stole from me. They did this to me. Doesn't matter whether they did or not. You judge it that way,
right? Well, I think also, like, you can't, like, if you don't figure out a way to let it go. Whether you think of it from the perspective of judgment, forgiveness, because I think, to your point, Jock, people get all their panties in a bunch over the word forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, and then they struggle to really let it go. So regardless how you have to mentally or emotionally frame it up, the letting it go will allow you to start to learn from the situation. Like, it didn't mean, did I need to get abused the way that I did as a child to learn? Not necessarily, but because I was able to let that go and grow from that, what I did learn is empathy. What I did learn is to speak up for those that are silenced. What I did learn is to give people the space to have a conversation with me. It's given me the gifts of people being able to come to me and tell me things they've never told anybody else. And so without letting go, I never unlocked that next level of potential for who I'm really meant to be in life. And I never really would have learned the superpowers, I like to call them, that I've gained from those experiences that were inherently negative experiences that I allowed positivity to come out of. I think people get so stuck in the negativity and hung up on words like forgiveness or they're just angry and they're not sick and tired of being sick and tired enough to really let that go in a way that allows them to move forward. Because at the end of the day, you moving forward doesn't affect those people who've hurt you. You moving forward affects you, your life, where it's going, those people that you're going to help out along the way that hear your story, and those people that you love the most that you want to give the best pieces of you to. That's what the letting go allows you to do. So when you reframe it mentally and emotionally as a positive,
right,
with this negative thing that's so hard, and you start to get some little wins, and you see like this positive spin cycle you start to get into, and you believe that that's the reality. Shit, I mean, you run straight to it. Then it doesn't feel hard anymore. You guys know I had someone the other day I disagreed with politically, and I hadn't even put a political post. They told me they thought I was disgusting and this and that, and I couldn't even really be mad. I was shocked, but
is that the person we both know?
Yeah, it's somebody, and I won't say their name because that's
no.
It's like Christopher, you and I disagree we agree actually probably like on 75% of politics, right? We disagree a little bit. We don't get our panties all in a bunch and call each other stupid. We just say our points, our minds change or they don't, right? And we continue our friendship. But to see it, ruin a friendship with somebody else was shocking to me, but I don't harbor this anger. Like I let that go. Why would I be all pissed off about that and let that ruffle my feathers and then affect the mood of my home now based upon an election?
And that's because you don't allow the judgment to take over your life. That's the thing. You're judging it differently. You're not allowing the judgment to be that painful catalyst. You're like, okay, well, it is what it is. It's, the thing is people can think of you what they want. They can do what they want, and they can have their opinions. It's how you judge it. If you like, oh well, so what? You go through it. You discerned it. You were like, okay, I'm not going to judge it that way. That's fine. Just leave it, and that they're out of there.
Yeah.
If you'd have judged it, if you'd have felt judged and hurt, then that would have been different.
I mean,
take it personal.
I took it a little. It's not like you can't because it's personal.
You let it go,
friend. But it's like I understand the power that my perspective from that point moving forward is going to have over my mood, over like a conversation I might have with somebody else I disagree with 10 minutes later, or my one of my kids come in and they got bad news on something and now I'm extra pissed, right? I understand the power that the perspective has over me, and so I think when I realize that like I'm in control of that piece of it, it's easier to just say, well, you know what, Roger that. Sorry you feel that way.
And I think that allows you to give a gift to everybody else, because it allows you to share that gift and to say, you know what, you can give them the gift of permission. It's permission to be who they are, permission to express, permission to grieve. It's okay to be not okay.
Right.
As long as you don't harbor that and keep that in. It's like today, I phoned a buddy of mine that I told him what happened to my mother-in-law this morning, and I broke down. I mean, as men, we would hold that back. We would try and fight away tears. We'd fight everything. I was in Starbucks. I saw a picture, and I broke down, and I had to leave Starbucks. I broke down like a freaking baby. Mm-hmm. But you know what? The way I look back at it, I had permission. I gave myself permission to express that, because I don't want to internally keep that in.
No.
Because it would just explode and cause, and that's the catalyst to disease. We've got to have permission to express ourselves. And if someone expresses themselves, it's up to you. God gives you this beautiful gift called choice. You can choose to let it hurt you or choose to let it flow through you like water.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I want to shift gears for a second, because I think that's important. But the other thing I want to have in this conversation is, and I was thinking about like how, I titled the show, Stop Lying to Yourself, What Really Matters in Life. And I find that people lie to themselves about what it is that they're afraid of. And I think that self-love, we talked about self-love to a certain extent, about being present, connection with self. I think that's massively important. But I also believe, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, is fear. Fear so often holds people in a complacent state. They hold themselves in a mediocre state because they're afraid of that judgment, like you talked about. What is it that we can help people process the irrationality of what fear really is, right? We hear the term false expectations appearing real, face everything and rise, all the different little acronyms. I find that in my life, what I thought I was afraid of was the thing that I needed to go towards and not hold myself back from. And so if I was afraid of the judgment, then I put myself out there. If I was afraid of the rejection, I put myself out there. And I found out that those things that I thought in my mind were bigger than they were, really were not. And the sooner that I addressed them, the more empowered that I felt, and the more sense of inner peace that I found, because I wasn't so anxious about what it is that I was avoiding. And I wasn't trying to find that avoidance in alcohol. I wasn't trying to find that avoidance in women. I wasn't trying to find that avoidance in work and ego. What is it that we can help people process things they might be fear of? And I know that a lot of people are fearful right now of uncertainty. What's the world going to be like? What's the environment going to be like? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Being able to process fear and overcome that fear.
I used to jump. I'll jump in because I used to think I could just help people and help them to understand fear and use all the acronyms that you have and try to explain it about it being emotion. But I would rather share my fears that I don't normally share, because I have two main fears. One is time. I fear time. It's a massive fear for me. And the other is in part judgment.
In what terms? Go a little deeper on that. What is it about time?
Goals, but I'll cover that part.
I wear a watch, but I never look at it as time. I wear a watch because it was a gift. Time for me, I get freaked out if someone says it's 2 weeks to go until this. It's 8 weeks to go until. I always fear I'm running out of time. I always fear that I'm wasting time. Time for my life.
Time to do what? What's the deeper thing?
Time for me, it's more about I fear that I'm running out of time to be able to sow the seeds that I need to sow.
Leave the impact?
Not so much the impact. I don't really care about the impact. I care about sowing the seeds that I need to sow, to be of service. To me, my greatest mantra that I live by is the greatest gift that I can give humanity is the gift of service, whether it be service to man, woman, child, or in any way. For me, life is all about service. I fear that I run out of time to give enough service. That for me is my greatest fear. That's my greatest fear. As I come up in my early 50s, I'm 52 now, or 51. I can't remember. 52.
I'm the elder statesman. Oh my God!
I'll need to check. I need to ask Joe what age I am. I can't remember. I'm so screwed up.
Respect your elders, fuckers.
I think like how much time have I got, and with so much loss that I've had just in the last year, not only through witnessing the loss through the hurricane and the people that I've served, but my own losses have been a lot. Mm-hmm. Time is on my mind all the time. Exactly, all the time. Time is a big focal point. Am I running out of time? I mean, I'm doing a master's degree and a PhD at university at the moment. I'm like, what? Am I crazy? I'm 52.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You are.
It's like time is my greatest fear. How can I help people combat it? I don't know. I'm trying to do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I might have answers to a lot of things
tomorrow,
about the afterlife. I might have answers to other things about life. And I used to think I had answers about the greatest fears. But how can we find those answers unless we go through the gauntlet? And I think that's what I'm going through just now.
Yeah, I understand you.
You wanted Raw Unscripted, guys? You got Raw Unscripted.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth and before the show and thinking about that, that the aspect of time and I look at it. I was watching an interview the other day with Michael Bublé, and he said, the guy said, if you died tomorrow, we was talking about his son going through cancer and everything. He said, if you died tomorrow, would you be sad? He goes, no, I've lived an amazing life. And I think that's one of the keys for us to get to when we think about, life and having this fulfillment, is getting to that place where knowing that we've made that impact and knowing that we've left that legacy. And I think that's, for me, having that big enough why in life and being able to say, now I've been doing this show for 5 years and I've got all this content out there. I know I've left my mark. I know I've changed people's lives. The regret would be leaving my son at an early age, but I know that I left the content behind. I've got my book behind. So I think it's getting to that process, to that point where you're not so fearful, because if you're fearful of that time, you're wasting that time, right?
I mean, I know that we're eternal. I know that we always exist. I know that we're always going to be there. That life is temporary in this moment, but it continues. And I accept that. I've had a near-death experience. I went to the other side. I don't fear the death. I fear the process of death, but I fear time more. And for me, it's not about the impact. It's about service. I always think I'm not given enough service, and I don't have enough time to do that.
Where do you think that stems from, though?
I have no, pardon my French, fucking idea.
Oh, we all speak French here.
It's some.
You said it.
You can speak freely here.
It's some. I have no fucking idea. It's just, I've been battling with it for a lot, and even more so this.
It gets worse as you get older, brother. There, I'm a ray of sunshine.
And I think
right
to
up your
myself,
ass.
though, is it because I'm getting older, or is it because there's something else that I'm not facing that I need to face? And partly introspection, contemplation, facing all the loss and destruction that I've had this year has probably made it even deeper and maybe made it more clear. But at the same time, I just saw this. So thank you, Hooked on Humanity. We love you as well. If I think at the same time, I don't know, because I'm still on that journey. We can't have all the answers. Walt doesn't have the answers. Christopher doesn't. I don't have the answers. We're all through a journey, and we're no different from anybody else. We all help each other.
Yeah.
And where I might need help, it takes a great deal of power internally to turn around and actually come on and say, do you know what? I don't know. I'm fucked when it comes to time, and I'm suffering from it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we all need to be. We all need to be able to say, you know what? I'm weak here and I need help.
Oh, yeah. I feel you. Mr. McKinley, what are your thoughts? I see you writing stuff feverishly down. He's got some wisdom right now.
Oh, man. Like, I think knowing that my life will never be what it was when I was younger, I think has enabled me to push through a lot of fears and what most people would have been afraid to do. So I've had a lot of people be like, I don't know how you do what you do. Like, you get up there, you're not even scared to do stuff. Like, you'll take chances other people won't take. Like, that's why you've had success. And I'm like, oh no, don't think I'm get scared when I do it.
Right.
Don't think there ain't some like fear a little bit when I do it. But I think when you start to ask yourself two words in a different way. So we're taught to say, like, what if this happens? Like, what if I ask this person out on a date and they reject me? What if I go for this promotion and I don't get it? What if I take the trip and it gets canceled? What if? And it's like all these negative things behind the what ifs. And what that does is that paralyzes you into being fearful of the negative outcomes that you could have. And they could happen, and they sometimes do. And then you learn lessons from those outcomes and you get better and stronger the next time. And you just live a life where you feel like you're drowning, where like you see the water above you and you just cannot take a full breath. And you know it's there. You know other people are doing it. You could reach your hand out and feel the air, but you can't ever like take this breath, and it's suffocating to live a life that way. But when you start to ask yourself, what if? Like, what if I ask this person on a date and they become my spouse of the last 25 years and we've been together 27 years? What if I try for that officer program and I get it and it changes the trajectory of my life for me and my family? What if I go leave, all the government stuff that I did for 20 plus years and I go into corporate America and everything works out how I think it could be? What if I leave corporate America and write a book and it becomes a bestseller? What if now there's all the negative what ifs that could go with every single thing that I just gave you.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized is like when you can ask what if and your focus is on the positives, it ain't like I don't think about the negatives too, guys. Like, let's be real. Those cross my mind, but I also think about the positives. But the perspective of me making sure that I take a second to enjoy the wins in my life. And then the hindsight you have is saying like, man, remember when I was scared to do that and I did it? Now look, I have these, it turned out way better than I ever thought. Like if you can bring in the perspective of hindsight and the times that you've either learned valuable lessons from what people might have considered a failure and you've grown from it, or the times that you've actually won and it's turned out better than what you thought. And you can say what if and the positive things, and you match that with like what you've shown yourself in life already, you're going to take chances other people won't. And it's like your life takes off. It's like rocket fuel for your life. And it's like you're in the fast lane of life while everybody else is in this slow lane. So to me, it's like asking what if, and especially when it comes to like trauma and stuff, people are like, oh man, you know, you see it like even guys lifting weights. He's like, you know, I'm battling my demons. And it's like this shit that drives me freaking crazy. Like, or, you know, you don't understand the demons. And I'm like, no, I do understand them, which is why I wrote a book about it. But what I did is I turned around, I ran them son of a bitches over, and I just kept looking out the windshield of life, and they never chased me again.
Right.
Because I defeated them. And when you realize that you can turn around and you can really battle those demons that we all got, and you can knock them down and you can never worry about them again in your life and your perspective will change. But again, it's like choosing your heart. And then the last point I'll make is like, learn to control the controllables. Like there's things happening in my life right now.
It's a great point.
I'm working on some health issues. Like, and I can only do so many things. In corporate America, I used to say this. Well, look at all these things that could go wrong. What if? And I was like, control the controllables. These 6 things that you just mentioned, we have zero control over. But if we want to accomplish what we want to, here's the things that we do have control over. All we can do is do those things at a really high level, and the results are going to speak for themselves. But if you're controlling the controllables, typically, like I said, you learn something that accelerates your growth, or your growth is exponential and way better than you ever thought that it could be. So start asking yourself, what if? Start thinking of the positive things. Start reminding yourself who you really are and how powerful you really are. And the shit you never thought you would make it through, you're still here, alive and kicking and doing it. And when you start to do those things, and that's your mindset, and that's where your heart's at, you could really genuinely accomplish anything. It all starts right here, and it all starts right here.
And I've learned based on what you're saying right there, Walt, it reminds me of, I was sitting there taking a tour down all the different things I've done in my life. And I think about it like this, you know, it's about that. We've talked about so many times tonight, that perspective shift. Like, can I just adjust my perspective a little bit? And I think about it in terms like fear and excitement. What's the difference? It's really an adrenaline rush. It's all about the perspective. I'm afraid of this, or I'm excited about this. And I give the example being at Six Flags Magic Mountain. People in front of me, I'm excited. Oh my God, that we're going on Colossus. It's gonna be fucking rad. Da, da, da. People behind me, oh my God, it's so tall. And what if the maintenance guy didn't? What if? I saw the same experience, but 2 different perspectives. These people were excited. These people were fearful. And when we change that lens, we put that lens on to say, hey, I'm excited about this experience of potentially going through a divorce. I'm excited about this new opportunity of switching jobs. I'm excited about changing my life. I'm excited about getting raw and vulnerable with myself, as opposed to fearful. That changes our perspective about it. Like, I'm excited about who the person I'm going to be on the other side of that. And when I look back on my life, I may have not have cognitively known that, but on the other side of it, I was like, okay, let me push myself. Let me see what I'm made of. Let me see if I can get through this. Let me see if I can prove people wrong. I think that was the biggest thing, was like, let me go back to school and get my GED in 3 months and make up high school. Let me go to college and get a not only just get a bachelor's degree, get a master's degree. Push myself, because I didn't think I could do it, but sit there. What if, like you said, I love that, the power of what if, and we can switch our perspective about that, because when we do that and we combine that with the other things we talked about tonight, right? Getting around different people, right? And letting go of the judgment of what should have been or could have been, and realizing this is the moment we're in right now. This is all we have right now. We have that power to be able to sit there and say, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do tomorrow? How am I going to shift this thinking? How am I going to start keeping the promises to myself? right? So many people say that they're going to do things, but they never keep the promises to themselves. They lose that self-respect, and then they stay in that cycle of complacency, hoping, wishing, and praying that someday something's going to change. We're inviting people to sit there and say, like, well, no matter where you're at right now, meet yourself there and ask yourself the power of, like, okay, number one, it is what it is, 5 powerful words. And then what is it? What can I start to do differently? What's one thing I could start to do differently by pushing myself out of that comfort zone and realizing that I'm going to survive? And not only am I going to survive, I'm going to thrive. And I'm going to start to get that capitalist idea of building that self-confidence to know that no matter what I face, I'm going to be okay. Right? Because we just want to know. The little boys and little girls in us want somebody to walk up to us and say, hey, Walt, it's going to be okay. Hey, Jock, it's going to be okay. Hey, Chris, it's going to be okay. Right? It's not going to be okay. You're going to be in a spot where you're going to be able to help inspire other people to go through those experiences too. Like Nellie's talking about tonight and Robert's talking about tonight. My final question to you guys, because I've already kept you a little bit longer, is we've been talking about questions, right?
Let me interject. There's something
No,
I think
no.
There's something I got it. There's something that there's missing, and then what you're saying is phenomenal. There's something that's missing that people, I wanted them to hold on to.
Of course,
you can't get to all these places that Chris is talking about unless you actually utilize the power of your will. You have to be willing. If you don't exercise the will that you have, there's a great psychologist, psychiatrist, Assagioli, who talks about the power of will and what is will in the human experience, which is part of transpersonal, is part of psychology. If you understand the will, you have to have willingness to change. You have to have the will to get to where he's talking about. If you can't identify the will, you won't get anywhere.
How do we get the will? Is that where it comes a big enough why? I think it's a why, right?
It's part of a why, but it's also part of do you have the will for change? Do you have the will to change? Are you willing to change? Are you going to will yourself to take action? Because you won't take action without the will.
What comes before that? I think in terms of negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, because I hear people right now, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, I don't have any more bandwidth, I just can't do it anymore. That negative self-talk destroys that will. So how do we change that negative self-talk?
What are they willing? But they're not destroying the will. What are they willing to do? What are they? They've got the power of will within them. It's up to, they can change at any given moment.
Well, it's asked a question, because you just asked a question, right? What are they? And Christopher, you said a statement. It's making negative statements, or it's asking yourself a question. What do I need to do to create more bandwidth? Like, what do I need to do to like feel like myself again? Maybe it's go golf. Maybe it's go off-road. Maybe it's go read a book. Maybe it's go, so it's like, ask yourself, what do I need to do to get to where I want to go?
And then exercise your willpower to do it.
Correct. And I want to add one super quick, funny story about fear before we move on from that, because I know you're going to ask us a question to finish off. I think we get so afraid of things that scare us. But you were talking about Six Flags, that it just made me think of this moment with my 2 daughters when they were little. So I had one that was like 6 and one that was 3.5, right? And so the 6-year-old, she went on some tween kind of, she was tall enough to get on some of these bigger rollers, not the big adult ones, but bigger ones, right?
Right.
And yeah, she was in line like, Dad. I was like, you got it, baby. This is going to be fun. And she realized, like, when she overcame that fear and did it on that back end of that roller coaster, she was like, boop, high fives, like, woo, that was so sick. Yeah, let's do it again. Right? You realize, let's do it again. And then we're like, hey, your little sister wants to go on this ride. And it was like, so she was literally from a roller coaster to like this little ride. It was like, had kites on it. And it just went in the circle, right? No, like, like a little kid ride. And she jumps in there with her sister. And they start going in a circle. And I kid you guys not, this is freaking hilarious. I still can vividly see this. And they go in a circle. And as they came back towards us, my 6-year-old went like this. And she looked pissed, right? She was like,
thumbs down. No way.
It was thumbs down, because it wasn't scary. Imagine going through your life and never doing the scary thing. That's going to leave you exhilarated and leave you on the back end feeling like you can accomplish anything. Imagine just going on the little boring ass ride the whole entire time. So if you sit there and you've been on the boring ride the whole time, get out of your seat, go get in line, be scared. Steph used to be scared to get in the front. And I'd be like, we're getting in the front. We already been in the line 2.5 damn hours. We're getting in the front of this mug. And she would get in the front. She loved it. But right before we got on, she would be, oh my God, we're next. And she would do it anyway and be screaming with her hands up the whole time and like, woo, that was so sick. Yeah. And I saw it with my kids, the same thing. We are meant to do the thing that's exhilarating. The things that are exhilarating are the things that scare us the most. Stop complaining and wallowing and living in self-pity and start doing just one or two of those things that you know are scary and will, but on the other side of that, you're going to feel exhilarated and accomplished and be ready for more. That's where we need to get to.
Talking about living versus existing. I mean, I think about parasailing, zip lining, all the different fucking crazy shit that I was like, I'm not doing that. And then my wife's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, all right, I got to man up. And then afterwards, like, holy shit, you know, getting in a helicopter. I fucking did not want to get in a helicopter at the Grand Canyon, but everybody else was like, let's get in a helicopter. I'm like, let's not say we did. Let's get in a helicopter. It's too expensive. I'll pay for it. Oh, fuck, I got to get in the helicopter. Fucking get in the helicopter, put the Bose headphones on. And I was like, oh shit, what the hell am I doing? And then got in front of the Grand Canyon and went, now I tell everybody like, oh, when you go to the Grand Canyon, you got to get in the helicopter. I fucking ain't getting in a helicopter. Get in the helicopter. Get in the helicopter of life, ladies and gentlemen. That's the important thing, is because when you feel alive, I mean, there's a sense of that again, that goes back to that confidence, that self-esteem, that ability, that belief to see, okay, yeah, it may be tough. It may be something that completely is uncomfortable, but on the other side of it, how am I going to feel? Right. And then we hold on to those things and sit there, and so many people play it complacent and mediocre. My next question to you guys is, what is a question that we can leave everybody with that can cause them? We've talked about a few questions tonight. So if you guys came into the conversation halfway through, go back and listen to the beginning of it, because obviously I'm a massive fan of questions. I think in terms of my success, it has been a large part, aside from the people I've associated with, it's been the questions that I've asked myself. What am I making this to mean about me? We talked about that one earlier. What is one question you think that we can leave listeners with that can stimulate them to start looking at their life a little bit different? We've been talking about perspective shifts, right? Talking about building that confidence, talking about letting go and going forward and keeping their promises to themselves. What is one or two questions maybe that you think that we can leave people with that can inspire them to start taking that journey for themselves?
I think for me, first thing that comes to mind is just asking yourself, what do I want my life to be? What do I want my life to be? Not what do I want other people to think of my life? Not what do I want to consider other people that are going to talk about me, whether I'm doing good or whether I'm doing bad or whether I'm doing mediocre. But what do I want my life to be? When my time's up, if somebody played a video of my life, what do I want them to see? And what do I want to be known for? And what do I want to stand for? I know for me, I want to stand for somebody who loved other people, stand for somebody who served other people. And I used to get caught up in this a little longer now, but I used to be caught up in this word legacy. And it's like my word in life. I want to legacy so big to me. And one day, and I was like trying to work through corporate America and like getting close to my breakdown. I was like, I just want to leave a good legacy for my kids. And he goes, but you already did. He goes, think about where you came from, because he had a rough life, and where you're at now. He goes, you already did. What other part of your legacy are you going to leave them that you haven't already given to them? And it really changed my perspective. Like, I did. Shit. I didn't really think of that. And so I just realized, like, now as I get older, as I saw my mother-in-law, we read her last rites. We thought she was going to pass away. Now she's a miracle lady and she's still here, and we're going to get through Christmas with her and all that stuff. At the end of my life, when those people that I love the most are around me and they're hugging me and they're loving on me, what stories are they going to tell about what I did for them?
Yes.
How I made them feel. What do I want my life to be at the end for those people that are going to be here when I'm gone? That you start asking that kind of a deep question. And maybe you do the things that you're a little bit more scared of, and you take chances that maybe you haven't taken, and you go on the vacation you haven't allowed yourself to go on, and you change the job, you leave the relationship, or you work on the relationship. Maybe you start to do the things that you know you've needed to do for a long time, but you just get running away from. What do I want my life to be when my time is up? What do I want those that I love the most to take away from the way that I lived? That to me matters.
I love that. I love that. I could go deep on that for another hour. Mr. Jock. Questions.
I would have two simple questions because Walt was greedy and had like 12. So what am I doing?
One question.
I would be asking, who am I? And what power do I have inside of me that will help me overcome and serve? Those are the two simple things that I'd look at. Because at the end of the day, no matter what we go through in life, you're a spirit having a human experience. You have a divine inner power inside of you. And you need to learn to enhance that power, but you will never enhance that power until you learn exactly who you are. And once you know who you are, then you can ignite that power inside of you to get over any adversity and anything that you can do. And then I would use that power to shine a light on others, because there's so many people in darkness that need your light so that they can walk a path of righteousness and they can find their way back to the light. And I'm not getting over new age or anything else. This is just from my spiritual wisdom, if you like, from my work as a medium and things. But I believe in everybody's internal power. I believe in everybody's divine power. I believe in the divine authority that we have. I don't believe, actually, I know. And I would get everyone to ask that question. What do I know of who I am? And what do I know that I have inside of me that will serve in a greater capacity and will allow me to overcome? Because that's what makes you the soul that you are. And that's how you develop.
Christopher, what's your question or two? Or
the one that's coming to my mind that I was just helping somebody with earlier that was like, damn, that's powerful, is kind of all along the lines I've been talking about recently. My friend Bob Donnell, who was on the verge, and he's slowly coming back. I got to do an update post, but he said a quote that I acknowledged to him. He said, "When it becomes acceptable, it becomes inevitable." So my question is a part and parcel of that. I've had people ask themselves, ask yourself, when did it become acceptable to not be loved? When did it become acceptable to not be healthy? When did it become acceptable to be mediocre? When did it become acceptable to not put myself first? When did it become acceptable to shoot myself in the foot every time I take a step forward? And then when you answer that question, it's not acceptable. Then the next thing you ask yourself is, what is one thing I can do by which doing so will move me forward? I was trying to remember the name of the book, The One Thing. And it was like the question that in that book was, what is the one thing I can do by which doing so will move me forward? So when you start drilling down and you start taking those questions and you start asking yourself the next question and you start taking the next action, it's not going to be overnight, but progressively you're going to start building that confidence muscle and that ability to say, wow, it wasn't that bad. Because so oftentimes we make it up into our brain, it's going to be so horrible and it's going to be so hard and it's going to be impossible. It's going to be all these things. You start changing the words that you're saying to yourself and say, okay, it's no longer acceptable for me to not be healthy. Okay, what's the one thing I can do? I can go take a walk. Okay, what's the one thing I could do? I could stop buying bad food. I could start buying good food. What's the next thing I could do? What's the next thing I could do? And as you do it, you start feeling better, and you start feeling better. You start doing better. You start doing better. You start thinking better. You start thinking better. You start looking, again, going back to what you said earlier, Walt, the tolerations. What am I tolerating in my life? That has been bar none. That's been one of the most powerful exercises I've given people is, what are you tolerating from yourself? What are you tolerating from other people? And what are you tolerating from inanimate objects? And you start looking at like, man, I'm tolerating a lot of shit. What would it be like if you didn't tolerate a third of that? Because some things are just a part of life. You're not going to get rid of all your tolerations. I think that's ridiculous. But if you got rid of a third of those tolerations, how different would your life be? How much more time would you have? How much more energy would you have? How much more confidence would you have? And you start asking yourself those different questions, and you start taking those progressive actions like we've been talking about here. You start finding that window of happiness. You start finding that window of self-love. And then you start finding that opportunity to say, wow, I'm not just here to exist. I'm here to make an impact in the world. I'm here to be, leave that legacy. Like you said, Walt, I'm here to be remembered for being this person. And I think one of the last things we could talk about here is is the fact that it's a beautiful experience to have this. And I think when we live in gratitude for the challenges and gratitude for the tough times, but most of all, grateful for these moments like this. We get to have this connection. We never met each other in person yet, but that's going to happen. But gratitude for the things in life, as opposed to looking at the things we don't have in our life, and we tend to attract what it is that we focus on most. And so I am so grateful for this conversation, for you guys taking this time, especially you, Jock, and given what you've been experiencing and being vulnerable here tonight, because that vulnerability is obviously not weakness. That's a strength. And together, when we get more vulnerable, we have that opportunity for us to become stronger and have more clarity within who we really are. Any
guys,
final words and thoughts?
I wasn't going to do this tonight. I mean, I had the news. My wife is not with me for Christmas. She's in the UK. Mum's passed, who I was very, very close to. I mean, amazingly close to my mother-in-law. But this was a conversation that needed to happen. I wouldn't have done it with anybody else. And I needed this for not as much for me to share knowledge with anybody else, but I needed this also just for me. And that may be selfish, because to be in your presence with you guys and share this, and hopefully we've managed to sow some seeds in people that listen to this as well, and they'll see our raw and unscriptedness, if you like, and our vulnerabilities. But sometimes we have to look past what we're going through, because there's a greater purpose at stake. And that's why I came on, because I think this is a greater purpose.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that madly. Final thoughts, Mr. McKinley.
Man, like, we're about to hit the next year, right? I think everybody gets a lot of juice coming into the new year, and a lot of fervor and excitement for what the new year could be. And so I think you got to really ask yourself, how has the fear and anxiety and depression and not pushing myself, how has that served me over the last year, if that's you? Or if you've been doing all of those things and pushing through it, like, how has that served you? Probably pretty well. And decide either you're going to double down on what's been working, or you're going to truly make some changes coming into 2025. And you don't have to wait till January 1st to do that. Start tonight and just say, hey, I'm going to do, like Christopher said, I'm going to do the one thing that's a challenge for me right now. And I'm just going to start there. And when I do that, I'm going to do 2 and 3 and 4. And I'm just going to keep pushing myself, because I know on the other side of what I feel like might be that dark journey is going to literally be my best life. And if you're just joining us now, or you're listening to this on replay, like, make sure you go back and you really listen to all of this, because what really matters in life really does change, ebb and flow. And there's about 150 years ish of wisdom on this panel tonight. And, we're just.
How old are you calling me?
I mean, well, we got to get to 150. You got to make up a couple extra years, because I'm not 50 yet, like you guys.
You young motherfucker.
Got him.
It's Christopher's oldest, and then is it
you?
It's me,
Yep.
then it's you.
Definitely you. It's definitely not me.
Yeah. You're the baby of the group.
Baby Walt.
Just a youngster at 48. So anyway, hey, this has been a blast, guys. Like, Christopher, thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
I love that you got a hold of us to come do the show, as always, brother. And
and thank you for me listening. Anybody who's listening to this.
Now we're in 28 countries, so there's people listening.
And then amazing, Jock, that you said, and it's not selfish, right? It's
self-love,
and it's also self-love to say, hey, like, I'm gonna be with my brothers on there tonight, and somebody might need to hear this too. And so it's like 2 birds at one stone, right? A little bit of self-love and a lot of selflessness to get on here and be vulnerable about something that you just went through today. That's very difficult. So, and I almost just went through that difficulty, so I can empathize considerably with you. So, love you both. And thank you guys for jumping on and being in the chat and being participative, because it just makes it a lot more fun for us too. So always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure.
I love you both very, very much. I apologize to everybody in the chat. We haven't put some comments up there, but I was just so ingrained in the conversation.
I almost just spit my water out of my mouth reading that last one. Hooked on Humanity. Put that last one.
I can't
I'm
say
always
it.
the oldest
It's always
person
the
wherever I
oldest person wherever I go. Oh, it could fuck with me. Yeah, there you go. Her name's Nellie. She's an amazing person. She's a
Oh, I love
huge giver.
that. That's
Yeah,
funny.
she goes out there and she makes a difference. She knits a lot of stuff for homeless people. She makes a huge impact in her community and the world. So thank you. I'm gonna put you guys backstage. I'm just gonna finish out the show, and then I still want to talk to you guys, so don't go anywhere. I love you guys. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, another amazing episode of the Raw Unscripted show. And here's the thing that I want you guys to really take to heart. And before I do that, you can get a hold of Jock at jockbrocas.com, JOCKBROCAS. If you're listening on the podcast, jockbrocas.com, evidential medium. You can check out his book, The Power of the Sixth Sense, right there, Jock Brocas, and also Walter McKinley, Monsters in My House, available on Amazon. Both of these are on Amazon. Walt McKinley, waltmckinley.com. You guys can check it out. Make sure that it's in the show notes so you guys can click on that. But it's one thing to sit here and listen to this or watch this. The next thing is, like, to be inspired is great, but write down, take an opportunity after you listen to this and take a pen and paper out and write down what it is that you're going to take definitive action on. Right. And then Walt said that you don't need to wait until January 1st. Most people do. I actually just started taking better care of my health here in November, December, because I realized I put on 10 pounds and I was like, you know what? It did not become acceptable at 55 years old to let myself go a little bit. Right. And I started having that idea. Well, I'm still in good enough shape, but when did good enough be acceptable? No, it's not acceptable. I have an 8-year-old son that I want to see have kids of his own and have a family of his own and live his life. And for me, that regret would be the fact that I didn't take care of myself and didn't do that extra little special bit that I know I can do. And so Walt said it like, what are you capable of? Like, you guys diminish how much it is that you are actually able to do in your life. You don't give yourself enough credit. Look back on your life and think about all the different experiences that you've had and what you've triumphed over, right? And that's so that the purpose of the conversation tonight is to inspire you to start shifting that perspective. Number one, take a look at the people you're surrounding yourself with. You can write 5 people down that you're around the most. Are they positive or are they negative? Are they constructive or destructive? Do they push you to go out there and be your best self? Do they want you to go live your dreams and take chances, or do they want you to stay mediocre? Number one. Number two, you can sit there and you could start looking at the words that you're saying to yourself. 3 words to eliminate from your vocabulary: always, never, and try. I always screw up. I'll never get the right person. I'll try to lose weight. I'll try to get up at tomorrow morning. Fuck try. Just make that commitment to yourself. Think about this. You keep the promises to yourself. What would happen? How different would your life be? And yes, it's going to take time. You're not going to get the overnight delivery on your results. But think about your life in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, how much different your life could be by 2026. If you're in a relationship you're not happy with, it's going to suck. But on the other side of that, you meet the person of your dreams and now you're fulfilled. And now you look back and you say this, which I've heard thousands of times: Chris, I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have left my job sooner. I wish I would have lost weight sooner. I wish I would have had the surgery sooner. I wish I would have got the divorce sooner. I wish I'd have done this sooner. I wish I would have wrote the book sooner. Stop waiting. Perfection is an illusion. We've talked about illusions tonight, right? Start taking that progressive action. What is it that I can do by which doing so is going to move my life forward? Right? Think about the questions that the other guys asked tonight. What is it that you're willing to do? Right. And Walt talked about, who am I? And ultimately what you could do is you could do what I did back in 2008 is you could write your eulogy. Write your eulogy. How do you want to be remembered? And then start working backwards. What is the thing that I need to do most in order for me to fulfill that legacy? Oh, wow, I need to take better care of myself. Oh, wow, I need to take better care of other people. Wow, I need to be not so focused on my career or acquiring possessions. We've talked about that. Acquiring money and possessions doesn't mean shit. I have talked to people who are famous, rock stars, actors, actresses, millionaires, billionaires. And guess what? Like Jock said, you can't buy back time. And I've seen rich people sit there and get sick and they're like trying to spend all their money. Right. And you can't buy that back. And when you sit there and think about, like, you can't afford to do this and you can't afford to do this, maybe what is it you can't afford not to do? I can't afford to eat well. Well, maybe you can't afford to eat well, but can you afford to pay the prescriptions and the copays and be sick and not be able to do things? I've seen people in my lifetime who said that gave those excuses. Oh, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to eat healthy. I don't know how to eat healthy. All da. And now they're on literally, no word of a lie, 18 medications, heart medications, cholesterol medications, fucking medications for the medications for the medications. And I go back to them like, oh yeah, you said you didn't have time. You didn't have the money. Do you regret those decisions now? Yes. Now they're making those changes in their life, but it's too late. Don't let it be too late for yourself. You have that opportunity today to take what it is that we've talked about in this podcast and apply it in your life. And not only apply it in your life, share it with somebody else. Share that experience with somebody else, your best friend. And if you don't have best friends and close friends, maybe that's something you need to start taking a look at, because close friendships and relationships are one of the instrumental keys to longevity and to happiness and to fulfillment. Not having 18 different cards or being able to say you did this and did that. It's about the quality of those relationships. Like Walt said, who's going to surround you at the end time and what stories are they going to tell? And I know my goal every single day in every single way is to be the best possible dad I can be, and to use my words and my actions to make this world a better place for who I am and what I do. And every single day I go to bed and I think about, did I do that today? Did I do something today to note that my son knows that if today's my last day, he knows that I love and care about him, that he knows I'm proud of him? Have I done something today with my words and my actions to make a difference in somebody else's life? Have I made somebody smile today? Have I made somebody think today that if today's my last day and people got around, they're like, oh yeah, that motherfucker made me smile. He made me laugh. He made me think. I was sending text messages earlier. Jock and I have had conversations earlier. I helped somebody out way earlier today. So I know that I'm living that legacy and I'm building that sense of pride so that when I go to bed tonight, I know that I'm living on purpose. And that's one of the keys and qualities of life. So I appreciate you guys for listening. In 2025, we're going to be doing a little bit different format and structure here on the Raw Unscripted show. So I encourage you to come back and check it out. We're going to be doing a little bit of coaching on the show. I'm going to be doing more solo broadcasts and doing some teaching and bringing you the value and the good. So please subscribe to the podcast. I know a lot of people listen, but they don't subscribe. So hit that subscribe button. And please, if you found value out of this conversation, and I know you did, please share this out with somebody else and let them know that you care about them. And together we can make this world a better place for who we are and what we do. Thank you guys so much in the comments. Nelly, Robert, Jacqueline. I'll go back and comment on these and read them more in depth. Thank you guys all so much. I know people on the East Coast watch it in the morning, listen to it in the morning. So thank you guys for helping me become the best person I could possibly be. And again, to Walt and Jock, thank you guys so much for being brothers in my life. I truly, truly appreciate and love you. I'm so thankful that you guys have become a part of my experience. And I can't wait to meet you guys in person. I'm going to go talk to you right now. So we'll see you guys here next Tuesday night on the Raw Unscripted show. And go out there and be the best you possibly can be. And I love you guys. All right. Cheers.